What is going on, guys? Winter Kills here, and welcome to sort of a bit of a story time video, I guess. I don't know. This is like the last video of the 13 videos I've been just going absolutely bonkers on, trying to get all these videos pre-made for vacation, etc., etc. And I actually got an extra day to make videos, so I'm lucky enough to be able to film this video today. But it's a cool little video. It's a video that I had the idea to make a couple days ago when I was trying to brainstorm for video ideas. And that was to sort of talk about, and you guys can fill me in the comment section below as well, because I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about it. It's just talking about the most powerful decks I've ever played in Yu-Gi-Oh! That, like, ranging from when I played in like 2004 when I was really young, to like a little small time I played right when, you know, the 5Ds era was around, and then to when I really got back in for pretty much for good, and so to speak, in early 2014. Just gonna run through basically the most powerful decks that I've ever had the chance to play competitively, or just ever had the chance of owning and playing. And yeah, you guys can feel free to share with me the most powerful decks you've ever played as well, because some of you guys have probably played in different time periods than I have. You'll have different experiences than I have had, and I'd love to hear what those decks are. So don't forget to leave a comment before you go. As always, hope you guys enjoy, and without further ado, we'll go ahead and get right into it. Alright, so the way I'll start this is just by going in chronological order from about the time I ever got introduced to Yu-Gi-Oh! All the way up until the current day that I'm recording this, which is July 3rd, 2019. So going back to about the 2004 era, I went to locals every now and then. It was one of those decks I just built and put together, and I was like, a deck filled with the cards that I like just because of the way they looked necessarily. Like a spellcaster deck, a warrior deck, etc., etc. But me and my brother were both very into playing the game, very much so, and we were lucky enough to have a really awesome hobby shop that's still there today, actually, and I've still had tournaments there in the past. Awesome store, an awesome owner, everything like that. They had tournaments back in the day, and they still have them now. Or, well, not at the moment, but hopefully returning in the future. But we used to go to those tournaments all the time. We never did well at all, and I remember one of the best players there, who doesn't currently play anymore, I believe, which is unfortunate because he was like really, really good player, and saw my brother struggling, and you know, that he wanted to build a better deck, and one of the top decks to play at that point was a Yada Chaos build, or just a beatdown deck. And that was probably, I mean, still to this day, that goes down as one of the most powerful decks to exist. You know, Chaos Emperor Dragon into Yada Garusu, that whole thing. Brother actually got to play that deck for some time while it was legal, and I remember he used to beat me with it all the time, but there were occasions where I would get to play the deck. And you know, there was a way to sort of switch it out into a beatdown build, and not play the chaos. Even wrote down a little sheet of paper, saying what cards to take out to play the chaos version, what cards to add in to play the beatdown version, etc., etc. So pretty cool guy to help my brother out like that. And then I also got to reap the benefits of being able to play the deck as well, because it was so very powerful. I didn't really understand fully the capacity of the deck's potential. I just always remember losing to it. And a few years later, after around the 5Ds era, I sort of stopped playing in around 2004 or 2005, and then took a break all the way up to maybe about 2008 or 9, and played for maybe 8 or so months in the 5Ds era, being introduced to synchros and things like that, where the deck was not legal at all at this point, but I remember playing people with it, some of my friends, and just absolutely destroying them with just such powerful cards like BLS and Chaos Dragon and Tribe Infecting Virus and Yada Garusu, Monster Born, which I don't think was legal at the time. It might have been, I don't know, but it was just such a powerful deck, and I remember having so much fun using it. So Yada Chaos, I guess you could argue one of the most powerful decks I've played. Definitely not legal to this day, but moving forward, we get to about 2014, 2015 era. Some of the decks I started playing when I got back into the game were decks like Cyber Dragon and Photon Galaxy. Very, very early variants of like Spellbook, not early variants, but like post-Judgment Ban versions of Spellbook, trying to play some of the earlier profiles on the channel. And then I remember Duelist Alliance coming out. Everybody was on the Shadal train, but I soon after, in early 2015, picked up Burning Abyss, which still had 3 tour guides, still had 3 seer, 3 graph, Vanity's Emptiness was legal. It was such a powerhouse of a deck. I remember going to countless tournaments of that deck and just doing extremely well, making it up to the very top. The only reason I was losing is because I, as a player, wasn't piloting the deck to my best of my abilities, and the opponents that I would be playing were just better players in general, and I sort of dropped the ball there. But basically, full power Burning Abyss, 3 seer, 3 graph, Fire Lake, triple Dante, etc. I mean, we've always had triple Dante, but Vanity's Emptiness, the tour guide, like this, the insanity of that deck, the consistency, it was so good. And I just remember doing so well with that deck. Definitely, even to this day, Burning Abyss still being a relevant archetype. You know, still missing some of the cards that they did have at full power. You know, Searing Graph and Tour Guide, cards that will maybe come back at some point in the future. I hope at least Graph does. But definitely full power BA, in my opinion, as the second choice for one of the most powerful decks I've ever played, hands down. Now, fast forward a little bit further. We're in 2015, of course, going into maybe a little bit that first quarter of February. We get a set called the Secret Forces, and in that set comes a deck called Necroz. I remember we bought so many sets of the Secret Forces. I think we bought like 6 or 8 boxes of the Secret Forces when it came out. And we just pulled so many Necroz cards. I remember we pulled all 3 Bryos we needed, all the Trishes we needed. And the only thing that we didn't pull, I believe, was like a Valk. We got everything but that second copy of Valk we needed. We got everything else, though. And I originally wasn't going to plan to pick up the deck. And I didn't end up doing it until later that year, because I was going to be content with playing Infernoid, which had, I believe, came out in the set prior, which was the Secrets of Eternity set, where we got Gungnir and Cycle, and then of course all the rest of the Necroz set coming out later in that set, the Secret Forces. It's so weird that they would just release Cycle and Gungnir in that set and not in this. It's still a weird thing that they did, you know, for me to understand this to this day. But I didn't plan on picking up Necroz until I saw how extremely good it became. It was, I believe there was a YCS that happened or something, and out of the top 32 decks, 31 of them were Necroz or something. The 32nd one was like BA or something, because BA is still sticking around. And I had sold BA at this point, picked up Burning Abyss, or not Burning Abyss, picked up Infernoid, because I felt that deck was really powerful. I love the way that it played. Reasoning and Card Trooper. Reasoning was at 3, I believe, and Card Trooper was at 1 still, or 2. And we also had Monster Gate, so still a very, very powerful deck to play. Really, really fun deck, and had actually a decent matchup against Necroz, just because you could dodge Valk very easily with your Infernoid monsters, tribute them, and banish something, and keep pushing for damage. I believe Blaster was legal too. I hope I'm not getting the timelines confused, but I remember playing a build that I actually took to a regional later that year when Necroz and Cliffworts were the top dogs, and I took that Infernoid deck to that regional. I played a list with Snatch Steel, Hidden Armory, and Blaster. Didn't do too well. I believe there's a tournament report on the channel for that. I think it went like 4-4 after 8 rounds, because I wanted to play all 8 rounds. Or not, maybe not all the rounds. I think I only played 8 and just dropped after that. And one of my friends actually that we went with actually ended up winning the event with Necroz. And a lot of, pretty much everybody else I went with played Necroz as well. And after that regional, I ended up selling a binder that I had for a bunch of money, and I was able to use that money to pick up 3 Bryo and a Trish, and a friend of mine actually hooked me up with those cards, and I was able to pick up the deck. The only thing I was never actually able to get my hands on 100% was a Valk, or 2 copies. I think my brother had a 3rd one at this point, and he let me borrow that, so I was like short of Valk, which I think I ended up going to a lot of tournaments with just the 1 Valk, and you know, had the Lao Chain, luckily, the Daigusta Emerald, and the Jinlock was a thing. It was like becoming an insane deck to play. It was like surreal to play a deck that would just go to every locals and just completely stomp people. Jinlock, prep rights, it was just so incredibly consistent. I remember the one locals I went to, like, people would actually start to complain to the store owner that, like, so many people were coming there with Necroz and BA and shit all and stuff, and just, like, they could never win. And it's just like, well, what can you do, right? It was, like, pretty much a tier 0 format at that point, especially when Jin was legal. And then I think Jin and prep went to Jin went to 0, Prep went to 1. The deck was still really, really good. And one of the reasons why I'm still so excited to play Necroz to this day, and why I ended up picking the deck again. You guys have seen, you know, test stand videos and deck profiles for it and stuff, and duel videos. And I had so much fun playing Necroz. And then it was probably that easily. I don't know what you'd put over. I'd probably put full power Necroz over full power BA any day of the week. And you know, you could count Yada Chaos. That's just one of those early decks I wanted to bring up. But Necroz, easily the most powerful deck I think I've ever played. But fast forwarding, we go to 2017. 2016 was the year of Mermails with Norden. I guess Norden Mermails could be considered a really, really powerful deck. But when we're looking at a deck like full power BA, Triple Seer Graph, Tour Guide, Vanity's Emptiness, I just don't think Norden Mermail really compares. It was strong, and I did get the chance, lucky enough, to be able to play Norden Mermails, especially right when Prince was released after Breakers of Shadows came out, or Bosch as people call it, the set code. And I remember Prince came out because I had picked up Mermail in late October of 2015. And I think that's when the first deck profile on my channel went up, and that was before Prince had come out. And then we got Prince and we got Norden, and like the deck just had so many plays. Of course, the Master Roll 3, so no extra Monster Zone. I still miss that version of Mermail. It's probably one of my favorite versions, up there with some other ones that we've you know, dabbled around this year in 2019. But such an incredible deck to play with Norden and Prince. It was so. We still had 2 Dragoons at the time. I don't think Norden was legal when we had triple Dragoons. That would have changed things a little bit. There probably would have been much better combos to do with having that extra Dragoons to be able to add, you know, later on in combos and things. But Norden basically was the 3rd copy of Dragoons, etc., etc. But yeah, so moving forward into 2017, obviously 2017 is the year of Zodiacs and things like that. I never played, I mean, I did play pure Zodiacs for a time, but not until like towards the end of sort of their, you know, lifespan, their competitive lifespan, their tier 1 reign. And that was the year I also went to the first YCS I ever went to, which was in 2017, YCS Pittsburgh. And I remember picking up Dino because the Dino Structure deck had came out. Oh, also there was before we go to Zodiac, there was a deck that I forgot to mention in 2016 as well. I believe I played Monarchs with the Monarch Structure deck. I think that came out in 2016, maybe 2015. Again, I might be in the timelines confused. But Ixie's Monarchs was a deck that I played with a red layer, all the rank 5 plays and stuff, and Aether and Prime Monarch and Pantheism. That deck was extremely powerful, and I remember playing the hell out of that deck, and that was extremely fun. So I'd have to put Ixie's Monarchs up there as a mention for this video. But going back to 2017, Zodiacs and things like that, I remember we had that grass released as well, either late 2016 or early 2017. And some of the first Zoo cards I got my hand on were, of course, the Triple Rat. Again, wasn't keen on picking it up right out the gate because there was just that money barrier, you know. Same thing with the reason I wasn't, you know, comfortable with picking up Necroz right away, because I just knew it was going to cost a ton of money, and luckily I had that binder to sell. But this time around, didn't really have that. And some of the first hybrid builds I was able to put together was like 60 card Zoo Infernoid. And I didn't have Barrage at the time, so I was just playing tanky, and I would use tanky to search out, you know, other cards in the deck like Rat Pierre and things like that, make Trident, Broad Bowl, etc., etc. And the reason why the Infernoid stuff worked really well is because you'd be able to search out the cards you needed so easily out of the deck, and Reasoning could just summon out a Rat very easily, and Monster Gate, same thing. But the Zodiacs were ranks, so I believe those don't count towards the requirement of Infernoids. Maybe they do. I think it says levels and ranks, but Zodiac Infernoid was just like a 60 card deck that I was playing for the longest time with Grass, and it was just like super fun to play. I don't think I would consider it the most powerful thing I ever played. Just a sort of honorable mention leading up to what we're getting to. And then I believe I took Zoo Dino without diagrams to the YCS because I wasn't able to get my hands on diagrams because they were like $80 a piece. But following after that, able to pick up Barrages and everything because I just wasn't able to pick up like everything I needed for that YCS. I had the Barrages in time, but then I just went back to sort of playing a pure version of Zoo Kaiju after I remember taking that to locals and doing very well with, and playing pure Zoo, which was a really strong deck. Fusion Sub was a thing that I was, you know, accustomed to. The fusion sub combo, so insane. And it just was extremely powerful. So easily one of the most powerful decks of all times I've ever played. So yeah, backtracking a little bit, we have full power BA, triple serigraph, tour guide, vanity's emptiness, etc., etc. Moving forward to full power Necroz as probably another most powerful deck that I've ever played. And then moving forward from that, we have Ixie's Monarchs, and then full power Zoo with fusion sub combo. So those are probably the 4 most powerful. And then we get to 2019, where I have Danger Orchist, and that I would have to say is probably also one of the most powerful decks I've ever played of all time. Bardich Orchist combo, you know, with Dingirsu, so consistent, just 2 monsters, and just popping off. Easily one of the most powerful decks I've played in Link format, hands down. So, I mean, not really much to say about it. I mean, I've only been playing full power Orchist for maybe a couple weeks or so, or I decided to sort of make the switch to the Danger Orchis version with Trickstars and things like that. But yeah, so those are easily the most powerful decks I've ever played in my entire career playing Yu-Gi-Oh! We have full power BA, Necroz, Ixie's Monarchs, honorable mention going to Nord and Mermail, and then we have Zodiac, and we also have the Orchis. So I believe that's 6 decks. Yeah, those are the top 5 most powerful decks I've ever played. And I guess just honorable mentions to Nord and Mermail, the Yada Chaos deck. You know, 60 card Infernoid with that grass. Those are honorable mentions as well. And I don't think I'm forgetting anything else. I might be, but yeah, those are the most powerful decks I've ever played in this game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Let me know what those decks are for you. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. As always, WinnerKill signing out. We'll see you in the next one.